Bonjour à tous! Have you ever seen fairies? I mean, not a fairy from cartoons, but real life fairies. Unfortunately, I've seen many, like this one, this one, this one, and that one. Why are they called fairies? Have you noticed that these people all have one common feature? Prominent ears. In China, we call this fairy ears. Unlike regular ears like mine, which are barely visible from the front. You see? Fairy ears stick out more and extend upwards and outwards. Think of the elf princess ears in The Lord of the Rings, or even grooms. Before we start today's video, I want to make a statement. Nothing I say today is meant to target people who naturally have big ears or those who have ears deformities affecting their daily life and need to change their ear shape. In recent years, these unusually large and strange fairy ears have become very popular on the Chinese internet. After some influencers started the trend, countless men and women began to follow or imitate this look. Various plastic surgery clinics also started offering ear reshaping services, and some surgeons even became so-called experts specializing in fairy ear surgery. It seems like overnight this previously unpopular big ear aesthetic in China became a new, bizarre trend in cosmetic surgery. Actually, getting ears like this isn't simple. There are several surgical methods. First, there's an ear cartilage removal. This involves making a big incision behind the ears, then separating the cartilage from the ear space. Since an implant needs to be placed under the ear cartilage, the cartilage has to be removed. After inserting the implant, the ear's direction is adjusted to achieve a pleasing angle of 30 to 60 degrees between the ear and the head. My ears, for example, are angled at less than 30 degrees, so they are not visible from the front. Once the ears are adjusted to the desired angle, they are stitched up to heal. Second, the dermal filler injections. This involves injecting a certain amount of dermal filler behind the ears, which pushes the ear's cartilage forward. To support the cartilage in this way, a large amount of dermal filler is needed, typically about 10 to 18 injections. Imagine having 5 or 6 injections just in one ear. Doesn't that sound uncomfortable? These procedures often cost tens of thousands of yuan. And although the effects only last 1 or 2 years, but people still flock to get them. I still remember back when I was a student, classmates with prominent ears wouldn't be teased, as the aesthetic back then didn't favor big ears. Medical textbooks even classified such ears as deformities that needed correction. So at least 10 years ago, some Chinese kids felt self-conscious and were bullied for having noticeable ears. While researching for this video, I couldn't help but reflect on how quickly time has changed so much so that I can hardly keep up. In theory, people have the right to choose surgery or injections if they want to, and it's not up to me to judge. However, I have to say these procedures can be very harmful to the body and it's really not worth it to hurt yourself for rapidly changing beauty standards. This isn't normal cosmetic surgery. It's a form of self-harm. Firstly, the fairy ear injection procedure isn't recognized by mainstream, reputable hospitals in China. So hospitals and doctors with proper injection skills, reputable operations, and legitimate implant sources didn't perform these surgeries. Essentially, only unregulated institutions offer these procedures. Some people even perform them at home without medical qualifications, or even in their cars by the roadside. Whether these practitioners are certified or if their materials are legal and safe is unknown. You can imagine the risks to medical safety, hygiene, and postoperative care with such practices. Secondly, let's talk about the side effects. As I've mentioned before, this procedure involves placing implants or injecting large amounts of fillers into the small space of the ear, which changes its shape by stretching it from the inside. Our outer ear is rich in nerves and has very thin skin, which means the internal pressure from the fillers is significant. Mild side effects include pain lasting up to a week or skin necrosis. Severe complications can occur if the filler moves. entering the arteries through the bloodstream, causing arterial embolism. If it gets lodged near the ears, it can cause ear canal blockage, tinnitus, deafness, and congestion. If it reaches the eyes, it can lead to blindness or even facial paralysis, which is truly terrifying. Let me share some real-life cases of failed fairy ear surgeries. Look, at these ears do stand out when viewed from the front, but the back view is horrifying. Many people have sought legal action after these botched procedures. Besides, after getting fairy ears, you cannot sleep on your side anymore. For someone like me who can only fall asleep on my left side, this would be torture. You might wonder why so many people risk their lives for such a strange aesthetic. It's what goes back to the facial anxiety driven by the childlike beauty standards I mentioned in the previous video. If you haven't seen it, feel free to check it out. Fairy ears are part of this trend. From the front, our ears are positioned in the middle of our head. Fairy ears create a wider upper and narrower lower face, giving the impression of a larger head relative to the face, making one look younger. Look at babies, their heads are proportionally larger than their faces. This childlike proportion can visually downplay prominent cheekbones, smoothing the face contours. Most Chinese celebrities have rounded faces without high cheekbones, as high cheekbones make one look older and mature, which doesn't fit the childlike aesthetic. Some unscrupulous medical institutions exploit facial anxiety. They show you two pictures of the same celebrity, one with fairy ears and one without. In the fairy ears picture, the face looks smaller and younger, while in the other, it looks bigger. But this is just Photoshop. They enlarge the non-fairy ear face to create a visual illusion. Many customers, unable to discern the trickery, fall for this scam. Under this deceitful promotion, facial anxiety worsens, and people were willing to go to great lengths to meet mainstream beauty standards. Other Chinese bloggers advise against chasing this distorted aesthetic, warning about the risks, but even on their posts, people say things like, "But I look 5 years younger with fairy ears," or "Who cares as long as it looks good?" This shows how deeply rooted facial anxiety and the childlike beauty standard are. That's all for today. After watching this, you might want to take a look in the mirror and your own ears. But remember, beauty lies in diversity. Just love yourself the way you are. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye bye.